Welcome to High Oracle's Reiki Spiritual Healing Channel. And today I just wanted to give you some insight, some understanding, some knowledge, some things that have been, playing out in the way that I had saw them playing out. And, I was able to guard against certain types of attacks. And so I know that this will be relevant to a lot of you. You will, understand, how to put up a spiritual defense when you can see the enemy's playbook. Okay. So, all week I have been under attack, for the last couple of months. And, I have been praying. Every time the enemy gets started, then I start praying. And so, having that, I'm making up days from Ramadan. So I'm still fasting and, Allahu Akbar for that. So I got a call on Monday, from the building that my father lives in. And they were letting me know that my father had walked off. He started to roam and he had disappeared. And he was supposed to be in a hotel for, the last couple of days because they're remodeling his building. And so my heart sank because I know that my father's mental stability, I know his physical stability is not the best, at 78 years old. So I was able to get in touch with the police department and they, they did a really great job of looking for him. And ultimately, I was looking on my end for one of my older phones that I had because the information to, my uncles and my aunts are in another phone. And I was, interrupted several times, during my prayers because, they were really, seeking and looking for my father diligently. The caregivers came in that was taking care of my father's, his affairs at the time. They were calling me and letting me know that, they were, passing out flyers. And I really appreciate everything that all of them have done. But the enemy was, trying to interrupt my prayers. The enemy was trying to make me stop praying. So every time they interrupted, I just started back up praying, on Wednesday, we were able to locate my father. I was able to locate my father with one of my uncles. So, I was, how shall I say? I was relieved. I was relieved that he was okay. There are circumstances of how he got to my uncle's house, which is questionable and lets me know that, there are certain precautionary measures that need to be taken, but that's not at my point. At this point, it's not for me to make that decision. So they were able to, go and make a wellness check on him, make sure that he was okay. And, he's remaining with his brothers, and I am just relieved and ecstatic that he's okay. So as I have been, continuing to, speak with the police department, they want to know, who's responsible for him. And I had to let them know that he's responsible for himself, and there are a couple of reasons why he is responsible for himself. And I gave them those reasons. And I kept praying. I kept praying. And I could tell that when I reached out to, some of the family members that was helping my father in this case, I could tell that, they are agitated. As we already know that I've had my father's brother's daughter has passed. on the 14th of March, and the funeral is being held. So we are, in a state of, just relief, and we're in a state of mourning, sorrow for what's going on in my family. And I thank all of you who have kept us in your prayers. I thank all of you who know me personally. And I really wanted to just let you know that I have been, praying. I have been taking my spiritual baths. I had to start early, with my frankincense and myrrh, and the black mustard seeds. I had to start early, using that. I had some other cleansing, rituals and baths that I had to use in order to stop this type of negative energy, to give me clarity in what was going on, who were the persons that were attacking in this situation. So, it is multiple people, and when you understand that it's multiple people that have been attacking you in your family, when you understand that you have to continue that connection to God, that you're going to continue to pray, you're going to continue with your fast no matter what, then that makes the enemy very upset, because they could not set out to do what they were trying to do. They were trying to stop your prayer life. They were trying to disrupt your connection to God, so that you would not have the clarity and see that it's multiple agencies that's, trying to pin something on you, when they have, automatically allowed an elderly person to take control of themselves and remove, a relative out of his life. So he has the caregivers, and they can't keep up with him, and we just have to continue to pray, that he's okay. We have to continue to pray that this comes to a quick resolution, because it's heart-wrenching when you have parents and how they were. They like to go and fish, they like to do certain things, and they go from that to just wandering off. They go from that to not being able to make rational decisions for themselves. So I just wanted to give you the understanding that when you have these types of issues, when you're under attack, when the entity is, directing the attacks at you, multiple attacks from family, friends, people that are in, the medical field, from people, that are in police departments, because they're looking for someone to blame, when, we understand that, they are the blame, for a lot of the things that go on in the elderly communities. And this is one of those situations where I had tried to alleviate this problem, through the state of Georgia, but they removed me from, being over the situation. So now these people are seeing that my father is he's very manipulative. My father is very convincing that, he can do certain things, and in reality, he will need help in more ways than one. So I'm glad that they found him. I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad that, some of you who have been reaching out to me, who have gone through these types of problems. So I wanted to, give you the understanding that it's not just you going through this. This is an attack up on the collective. I'm going through these issues, even though, they were trying to do everything that they could, to ask me if I was the power of attorney. And I kept telling them, I had to tell 2 officers that I am, no longer even in the state. I had been removed from power of attorney. So, limited power, they're going to call me because I was over his affairs. So we are having these types of attacks, and you have to continue to know what to do when you are under spiritual, physical, mental attack. You have to stay in prayer. You cannot doubt, that God is going to do and move that obstacle in your life, that person that's trying to create obstacles. I've heard of several people reach out to me that this entity was trying to send them to jail. And, we're not concerned about what the entity is trying to do, as long as we continue to pray and we continue a spiritual journey, a spiritual cleansing ritual on this journey, in order to remove any obstacles, in order to have the clarity to see who these people are that are conspiring, with different departments in order to, falsely accuse you, or trying to falsely accuse you. So when they cannot do that, they have to go to the persons, that are the handlers for these individuals. Okay, so this is how we are moving forward with this, because I got my spirit back, but I never stopped fasting. I never stopped praying during the whole situation, during the whole week. And that's how we have to be steadfast. I was reading Surah Al-Kahf. I was reading Surah Al-Qari'ah. I read Psalm 7. I helped a couple of clients. I had to, make sure that we have what we need. We have what we need and how we're going to obtain it. I had a couple of people I directed to my Amazon site in order to get the cleanse for our full moon cleanse, April the 1st. But I was really focused on praying and making sure that, it was a safe return for my father, that, he didn't have any broken bones, that he would be returned, safe and sound. So, this is how we have to continue to make sure that we stay steadfast, that, our spirit, just because our heart sank, that doesn't mean that our spirit got to sink with our heart. So we make sure that we stay on point with these types of, understandings, the knowledge that God has given us in this situation. And I wanted to bring this to you because a lot of you are having problems with your parents. We have been talking about dysfunctional parents for 2 weeks now. We have been talking about those siblings, the uncles, the aunts. And these are the people that they will want to get, snobbish with you. They will want to get up in theirs, but they don't have a reason to do that, because, we're going to talk to them with sense until we have to go ahead and let them know the truth. So these are our ways we can move forward with our parents, and the best thing to do, and like I said, this is what I had to do, when you know that the entity is trying to entrap you and you can see the trap, then you do not go towards there. You do not engage. You disengage with the entity and the spirit that is associated with that person. So, when we cut those ties, when we cut the trauma bond between you and a family member, then they ultimately start to receive their own negative energy. And I hope that you receive this message. Please like, share, and subscribe to me over all of my platforms. You can book your one-on-one life coaching sessions or your video chat sessions. You can book your consultations, and I will make sure that I acclimate a gift to your situation. Donate to me. And please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.